Welcome to the IVF Abroad podcast for people who are struggling with infertility and trying to conceive and who are facing more obstacles than options when it comes to having fertility testing or treatment in their home countries. Alongside other experts, I will share, educate and empower you on your journey and help you to learn more about going abroad for advanced fertility testing and treatments like IVF and egg donation. I'm Emma Haslam, your host, now mum of one, and the go-to expert in fertility treatment abroad. Since the birth of our son in 2018, I have made it my mission to make fertility treatment more informed, transparent, accessible, supported and affordable for more people. And I help people just like you to become unstuck, to find a best fit clinic that truly meets their needs and to have fertility treatment on their terms and timescales so they can achieve their dreams of growing their families. And I'm here now to help you too. Be sure to check out the free resources in the show notes for more help after listening to today's episode. Hello, it's Emma here, back for the final episode in this season, this series 4 of my podcast. I have done, I think this might be my 90th episode, which is insane. So I'll be taking a short break before I come back with more solo episodes and more guest episodes. But today I thought it would be really nice to kind of summarize what I am hoping you are taking away from this season. And if there's just one thing that I hope that you take away from this series of the podcast, it's that you are not running out of options just because the path that you imagined hasn't worked out yet. That's the main thing that I want you to take away. But as I sit here, I honestly can't believe that we're already at the end of another series. And this episode isn't going to be a teachy episode. It's not a strategy episode. But I want to go through a few of the things that I've discussed in this last series and give you some of the key takeaways, because I know that for many of you listening, how lonely this journey can feel, how overwhelming it can be, and honestly, sometimes just simply exhausting. And I think when you're in it, it can be very easy to start believing that because things haven't worked out yet, that maybe you're out of options, maybe it's never going to happen, or you're behind. And no, there are no guarantees on this journey. We know that. But, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not behind. There probably are other options. And often, sadly, there's a lot of adversity on this journey where a lot of things don't work out, or they don't work out in the way that we thought they would, or in the way that we wanted them to. But it doesn't mean to say that they won't ever work out for you. So I know I've mentioned already that you're not doing this wrong. And I think this is one of the biggest things I hear from people over and over again is them blaming themselves. And I was very similar with this, feeling like we should somehow know what to do. We should somehow know the answers. That the reason that we are struggling to conceive or have a baby is somehow our fault. And then also feeling bad, guilty when we feel overwhelmed or confused or stuck. But honestly, so much of this process is genuinely really difficult to navigate. There's so much conflicting information, opinions, pressure, not enough proper guidance, systems in different countries to try and work through, waiting lists. And no wonder people feel like they're failing. But actually, you're just massively under supported. Like, that is the crux of it. And that's why people often feel that way. Another thing that I've touched on quite a lot in this season of the podcast is that more information is not always the answer. And in fact, it's probably one of the biggest themes that I've talked about this series, because I feel really passionately about it. Because in a world where there's access to information everywhere, which is a blessing, it's also a curse. And, we've got Google, forums, social media, AI, free, in inverted commas, things out there to help us, clinic websites, all sorts. And while absolutely you'll have heard me say that some of it can be absolutely helpful and has its place, so much information, which can often be disguised as marketing, can be wildly inaccurate as well. Without clarity, without looking at the nuances of your situation as well, and without knowing that it's absolutely accurate, then that influx of more and more and more information just creates more overwhelm. And I think a lot of people truly believe they need to do more research, but actually that's often not the case. They don't need more information. They just need the right information in the right order at the right time for their situation, and in a way that then makes it manageable for them to be able to move forwards. Another thing I really hope this season has helped you to realise is that while it can feel like you're out of options, there may be more options than you realise. And that doesn't mean like false hope. I'm not going to pretend that everything is easy or, that there's loads of options for people. But sometimes there are paths forwards that maybe you just haven't been shown yet. That could be another clinic, another opinion, another country, another approach, another way of doing things. And sometimes people stay stuck for much longer than they need to because they don't realise that perhaps these options exist. Or they, stay stuck in the indecision about, for example, whether or not to go abroad, instead of thinking, well, what do I need to do next? What would help me to make that decision, to then move forwards to make that decision so that they're not stuck, so that they can then take that next step? Because indecision leaves people stuck in limbo and no closer to the end result either. Another thing that I've hoped you've heard through listening to my podcast is that you really deserve care, options, and personalised care to you, not just generic advice, not just getting what, what's the saying? I mean, like, it's gone out of my head. But, a little bit like if you've got state-funded healthcare in your home country, like the NHS, a lot of people, I think, feel like they can't ask questions, that they can't input into their care. They just get what they're given. That's the phrase I'm looking for. And, you deserve more than that. And I understand there are constraints, especially for public healthcare. I'm not slating the NHS, but it can leave us to believe that we don't deserve a certain standard of care and options. And then we can take that then when we're looking at private treatment and almost treat it in the same way. But you deserve personalised attention. You deserve non-generic advice and not just being pushed through a standard process in one way. You also deserve not to be reduced to a statistic or the number on a scales or an age bracket, because fertility treatment is incredibly personal, and the right time, the right clinic, treatment path for one person may be completely wrong for somebody else. And I think understanding that is really important. Like, you are allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to have choices. You are allowed to expect and deserve better than perhaps we think that we do. And lastly, don't lose yourself in the process. I really hope that you don't lose yourself in all of this. I completely lost myself and let this take over my life. And it's really difficult for this not to happen. It does happen to a lot of people, but if you recognize that this is happening to you, maybe there are things you can do to help support yourself so you don't completely lose yourself in the process. I mean, if you do, it's normal. It's just not very nice. And I know how easy it is for fertility struggles and treatment to become totally all-consuming, the appointments or lack of, the waiting, the limbo, the researching, the comparison, the blaming, the feeling that life is moving forward for everybody else around you except you. And I want you to know that your life still matters while you're in this chapter too. Not only if or when you get the outcome that you're hoping for, but right now as well. And it's really hard. And I didn't manage to do this. But it's interesting now I'm working in this world and have been doing for 7 years. how much I see this with people and how much of a toll it takes. And then there'll be other people that do seem to be able to manage not to lose themselves in the process and still enjoy their life where they can. And I think that's really important if you can recognize this might be happening with yourself and looking at how you can still have a life and enjoy your life outside of your fertility struggles. I mean, if you find the answer, let me know, because like I say, it's not easy. And again, I'm not giving you that as another stick to beat yourself with if you do feel like you've completely lost yourself. We can't always control these things, can we? But, perhaps sometimes just hearing it out loud, I wish somebody had said that to me, because I feel like I let it completely control everything. And actually, I realise now that there are elements of the journey that I could have chosen to control myself, to not let that happen quite as much. So just a little bit of food for thought there. But more than anything, I really hope that this series of the podcast and all the other 8 to 90 episodes in total have helped you feel a little bit less alone, more informed, more hopeful, and more aware that, there are options out there and often more available than we realise. So before I finish up and leave you for this season, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched my free training, then I really recommend that as your next step to help give you more of an understanding of what your options might be for next steps. I'm going to leave the note. I'm going to leave the link in the show notes to the free training. So I'll walk you through the highlights, opportunities, watch outs of going abroad for fertility treatment. So that'll be there for you. And if you're at the point where you want more personalized support, you want to work with me, you want to look what that looks like in terms of supporting you with your next steps, whether that's working out whether going abroad is right for you, through to finding the right country and clinic for you, and, through to planning and having your treatment, figuring out what's actually right for your situation, then you can book a complimentary call with me via the show notes. Let's have a chat and see if I am a good fit for you. But yeah, that's it. That's it from me. Thank you so much for listening. Honestly, I never take it for granted that you choose to spend this time with me. If you haven't reviewed the podcast, I'd be super grateful if you would do that. It takes literally 2 seconds to give me a rating on your Spotify or Apple. And it just means that the podcast algorithm will push the podcast out to more people. And it means that I can help more people. So when am I coming back? That's a very good question. When am I coming back? I aim to come back in June or July. So this episode is going to go out kind of mid-May. So I'll probably be taking a 6 to 8 week break and then I will be back. But you can connect with me over on Instagram as well at Your IVF Abroad. Do go and watch that free training if you've not already, because it is super helpful. And I've crammed a lot in there that's going to really help you. And as I said, if you're ready to look at taking that next step and what that might look like with my help, then do go and book in a call. And I will speak to you soon. Bye for now. If you are facing more obstacles than options and want to learn more about how to overcome your fertility testing and treatment challenges in your home country so that you too can fast track to growing your family and on your terms, then check out my free training at yourivfabroad.co.uk/free masterclass. Don't forget to rate and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and so that I can reach and help more people. Thanks for listening.